low enough for me, because they say there's two kinds of pain: pain that hurts and pain that makes you change.
Good stuff.
And I finally got low enough to hit the pain that made me want to change.
Welcome back to Me to We Productions. And if this is your first time here, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. And if you like what you see, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you want to follow Recover Out Loud, you can join us on our website at recoveroutloudinc.com. They'll have all of our events and our gathering dates, and you can look at that, as well as you can follow us on our YouTube channel. So today we're going to get loud here with Mr. Patrick Lehman. He's from Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
And you've been in Terre Haute for the last 9 years?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming here. And the purpose of this channel is to get your story out there, to really start breaking down the stigmas. We want to put faces with recovery. And you are a man of recovery.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and get into this. Something that I've picked up on in my interviews is this thing can kind of seems to start at the top. You know what I mean? And there's a saying that I like to go through is that pain is the greatest agent for change. And I think things, when we've experienced pain, no matter how young we are, it tends to change you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your father and your parents in that situation, and what was that like for you?
Okay, so I was 5 when my dad went to prison. Excuse me. He got arrested for manufacturing and selling methamphetamine.
And you're 5 years old.
Yeah, I was
and
5 years old.
This.
Yeah, I remember. Like, I remember when my mom told me my dad's gone, and I was like, "What do you mean? Like, when's he coming home?" And she's like, "Well, it's gonna be years and years and years. You graduate high school by the time he's home." And I'm like, not even comprehending, like, how? Like, I didn't know he was, doing that. Like, I didn't know. I had no idea. I knew, like, he beat my mom up and stuff. And
you seen that?
Yeah, I seen that. They used to hit on each other and stuff like that all the time, but I didn't know they were doing drugs. I didn't know what drugs were. But so he ended up going to prison for, I don't know, like 10, 11 years, something like that. And so I was stuck with this abusive, neglectful, drug addict mother and it was just me and my older sister at the time. She's 4 years older than me. And we're not knowing, like, she's not feeding us like how she should be. We were, in poverty.
So life for you was really hard from the start.
Yeah.
And you know what? As you were speaking there, I had something that jumped out at me. You said, at 5 years old, this is what you remember. I don't even know if I have a memory at 5 years old. I think my first memory is around 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So for you to be remembering something that dramatic so young, that just shows the power behind it.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And now you're left with your mom, who's not very good herself.
Yeah, not a suitable parent.
Yeah.
She used to lock herself in a room with her friends for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks at a time. And me and my sister, like, I could remember, like, sharing, like, loaves of bread, like French bread, and, like, eating it to survive. And, like, we'd call my grandma and, ask for, food or something. She'd bring over food or whatever, but, like, it was rough. Like,
so do you think you were born an addict, or do you think you were born into addiction?
Both.
Think both?
Yeah, both. Because I remember, like, as far back as I could remember, I always remember being different. Like, everybody's doing this. Well, why am I doing this?
Okay.
Instead of what they're doing. I don't know. It's always been different. Like, I was always an outcast or whatever. And then when I found drugs and alcohol, I was, somebody. And that was how I related to other people.
So you felt, I think you hit on something pretty good there. So you felt like an outcast until you found the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
and then you didn't feel like an outcast.
Yeah.
Why do you think you felt like such an outcast without them?
I don't know, man. Like, I was just different, you know. I thought different. Everybody, you know, was accepting, you know, oh, they got a, you know, maybe somebody got a F on a report card because they didn't study. Well, I'm trying to, you know, think into it harder and in different ways, you know. I don't know. It was always just different. I was always just different.
Okay. So you felt like you were just inside somewhere, and you just knew you were different. And this difference then, so you when you get into drugs and alcohol, it kind of relieved that.
Yeah. When I got into drugs and alcohol, like, I felt like the man, you know. Mm-hmm. It was before. It was like, you know, I was less than everybody else. You know, not worthy to be even, you know, sit in the same room as somebody and talk to them on a specific subject or whatever. But whenever I got, you know, found drugs and alcohol, I was above everybody. That's how I felt.
So how old was you when you first started getting into drugs and alcohol?
Well, I remember when it was right before my dad went to prison. Me and my mom would go over, my uncle lived across the street. And me and my mom would go over there, and they would smoke weed. They smoke joints, and there's one recliner on this side of the room and one on the other, and I'd be the one to pass it back and forth to each other. And I remember, like, you know, hitting it, and they'd laugh, but I mean, I'm not inhaling it. I don't know how, so I'm not really getting high. But that's like the first time, like, I got my mind drugs are cool, you know. But I didn't really know what it was. But I'd say I was probably 8 when I started smoking weed seriously.
That is so powerful, man. You were 8 years old, passing joints back and forth between your mother and your father.
No, my mom and her brother.
Mom and
when
brother.
I was 4.
When you were 4.
Yeah, doing that. I remember doing it just slightly. Like, I remember doing it, but when I turned 8.
How do you think that affected you?
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way, right? Like,
yeah. It planted a seed in my head that, like, drugs are cool.
Yeah, so I think you were probably predestined to at least try drugs from that point.
Yeah.
You know? And then what, so you're predestined here, you're thinking it's cool, so how long from 4 years old to your first use?
That's probably
where you did inhale, you know?
I was probably 8.
8 years old.
Yeah, because I remember being like 7. Me and my neighbor, I was best friends with my neighbor for a while when we moved to Terre Haute, and we used to, like, go in the garage and smoke, like, Post-it notes and act like we were, you know, getting high or whatever. And then we stole weed from my mom one day, and he was like, swallow the smoke. And I did, and I remember, like, I ate a bag. I got hungry. I got the munchies. I ate a bag of chips, and it felt like I was eating razor blades. And that's, like, the first time I remember being high, and I was like, I got to do this 24/7 all day, every day. That's what I said to him.
What made it like that? What made you feel like you need to do that 24/7 a day, every day? It
was just, I don't know, like, it was the best feeling I ever felt in my life. And
it just was?
Yeah, and as soon as I came down, it was like, well, why don't I feel like that? Why can't I feel like that again?
Do you think it relieved any pain that you'd been through? Do you think it relieved any, like you said, where you were different, now you're the same, any of that kind of stuff?
So not at first really, like, not like how I was different, like, I don't know, I think I had, like, OCD or something.
Okay.
Like, in a weird way, like, I remember if I was playing video games or something and I seen, like, my left foot, I'd have to look at it twice or whatever, and then I'd look to my left or look to my right foot, and I don't know, like, there's something inside me that says, like, it's not even, and I try to get it even just by, or I'd have to, like, hit the light switch a couple times, and, you know, I'd do that for a couple hours, like, when I was a little kid, and it was horrible. Like, I'd cry over it, like, it was bad. Nobody knew about it except my mom, and, like, none of my friends knew, and the older I got, like, it just started going away, and I remember, like, thinking, like, oh, it must be because I'm smoking weed.
Okay.
And so I was like, because when I was smoking weed, I didn't care. Like, I didn't care about that. Like, it wasn't, because at first it like ran my life, and like, I was scared to do certain things, you know, and because of it, because I'd think, oh, I'll get stuck here having to, you know, hit the wall 4 times. It was weird, and I don't do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know, like, so it, like, got me away from that, and that's why I was like, man, I love this.
So it did provide a little bit of relief in that aspect.
Yeah.
You know, almost made you feel normal.
Yeah, made me feel normal.
In a way. They say, you know, that, you know, addiction's progressive and things like that. How long did it take you to know you were becoming an addict, or did you? Because I know, I spoke with you earlier, I know your story's pretty it's decent, it's good.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, heroin and that stuff wasn't involved.
Yeah.
Later on down the road, you get involved in meth. But here, it's weed.
Yeah.
And that led to a different addiction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember like when I was probably 12 years old, or I remember me and my friend got the cops called on us when it was 2 days before my 12th birthday, because we were the neighbors smelled weed, and we were smoking weed. We had a bunch of weed, and we were smoking all my mom's weed, and they were like, the cops came and made him go to his house and made me go to my house, and I went back over to his house after they left, and he was like, man, that's weird, they called the cops on us. I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, you think we got something wrong with us? And I was like, 100%. And I just didn't care, you know. I knew, like, by then I knew what a drug addict was. Like, I've seen enough of, like, my mom's friends and stuff.
You had some examples.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, I always figured, oh, my dad's been in prison because of this. I'm destined, like, I thought I was destined to go to prison eventually and live the same life, like, and I didn't know what recovery was. Like, I didn't know people were sober, like, how to get sober, and it wasn't an option for me, so... Like, I knew I was like, and it was just like how bad I was on the meth. I feel like I was just as bad on the weed. Like,
sure.
I could not stand, you know, I'd have done anything for a hit of weed.
Something you said there that I think is significant is you said you felt predestined.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing, because when you believe something that strong, you're probably just going to go ahead and be that.
Yeah.
You said you were predestined to be an addict because your parents were, right?
Yeah.
How did you break that? Because that's a totally different belief now.
Yeah.
You know? So how did you go from being predestined to knowing, you know what, maybe I don't have to be like that?
How did I get there? It was a long path.
Yes, sir.
By the grace of God, first and foremost, even if I didn't know it at the time, because I didn't. I didn't know. But now I do. I had hit a bottom that was low enough for me, because they say there's two kinds of pain that hurts and pain that makes you change.
Good stuff.
And I finally got low enough to hit the pain that made me want to change. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I could not live the way I was.
That was a really good quote, by the way. I like that. So let's talk about the K2 a little bit.
All right.
Because this is where I think it's a little different of a story, and I like it because it's something we forget about.
Yeah.
And you got into K2 pretty heavily.
Yeah, really bad. I started, you know, like, if I would have got arrested, I don't have any drug charges, but if I would have got, like, arrested for drugs, I'd probably still be locked up for it. That's how I had a lot of K2, and I wasn't selling it. I physically could not get, like, myself could not give anybody anything, because I just wanted it for myself so bad. Like, it was bad. I mean...
So you wanted it for you.
Yeah. I didn't care about anybody. I didn't care about myself. I didn't care about anything except the K2.
Okay.
Like, I would sell my body for it. I've sold my sister for K2. And she was on it too.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I've heard people try to say that stuff's not so addictive. If you're willing to do that, it's addictive.
Yeah.
You know?
I was homicidal, suicidal. I would have killed somebody for K2. If I knew I could only get high one more time, if I would die right after, I would have done it. Like,
so did this desire, like, to smoke K2, did that lead to some criminal activity?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. When I would, because I couldn't hold a job, didn't want to hold a job. I wanted to, you know, just run the streets and be a quote-unquote gangster, thug, or whatever, so...
And this was your self-image.
Yeah,
like,
this is who I was.
This is you.
Yeah, if anybody said anything otherwise, then
you were going to have something
prove
to say
them wrong.
about it.
Yeah. And so that's who I was. That is who I was. And looking back on it, it's like, man, that's a whole nother life I lived. That's what it feels like. But yeah, the criminal activity, it led into me, beating a lot of people up with my buddies, robbing people, like stealing, going in their houses, taking their stuff from them, like, saying, that's not yours anymore, give me that. Not in such a nice way. But I ended up remembering, I remember, like, I was at my buddy's house. He was on house arrest. And it was a bunch of my buddies, and we was all selling K2. Well, I was
Right.
doing it all, but pretty much the only reason they kept me around is because if something went down, I didn't, I'll take care of it. If somebody's trying to mess with them, I'll go beat them up or whatever, and I know where to get guns and all this and stuff, and we'd go to Gary and get guns and stuff, because I got a bunch of buddies up there,
Right.
and so one day it was kind of my decision. I was like, we need to rob somebody. And he's like, well, let's go steal out of cars and steal from garages and break in houses. And I was like, well, you guys can go do that.
You're thinking big.
I'm thinking, well, I need to hit a lick.
Right.
Like, let's rob a gas station.
Okay.
And at first, a couple
And how many of you are there?
I think there was 9 or 10 of us.
9 or 10 of you?
Yeah. One of them's on house arrest, so we're just staying at his house. We're all staying at his house. Like, his mom's, got guns and she's on drugs, and it wasn't no good. And I was out of my mind. Like, I'd been, I was probably like 100 pounds. Like,
A lot smaller than you are now.
yeah, a lot smaller than I am now. Like, strung out on K2. Like, I haven't taken a shower in probably 2-3 months. Honestly,
Okay.
Like, I was gross. It was
So
nasty.
you're gutter at this point.
Yeah. Like, if I wasn't staying there, I'd be sleeping in the alley.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
So you're
like,
homeless.
Yeah. I had no like social skills. Like most like normal people, when they heard me talk, like they couldn't understand what I was saying because it was like street slang. Like,
Wow.
it was bad.
You're doing a lot better now.
Yeah, a lot better. And so it was me and four of my buddies,
Okay.
and we went to the gas station and we robbed them. I went in and I had no mask on, had no gloves on, had nothing on. I had shorts and a t-shirt on.
Yeah, I mean, you truly just didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't care about
Yeah.
anything. I knew I was gonna get caught, and I knew I was gonna go to prison.
Was there anything in you that wanted to get caught? That's the first thing I thought when you said no mask. I'm just going to do this. Like, are you at a point where you just don't care so much that there might have been a small bit of you that wanted to get caught?
Honestly, there was like a small bit, but it wasn't because like I wanted, help.
Okay.
It's because I wanted like
You wanted the credibility?
yeah,
The
like
street credibility?
yes,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. That's what it was. Like if I was like, well, when I get caught, I'm not gonna snitch, and I'm gonna take my time and come back and do it. I was honestly gonna get out and rob another gas station or go big or whatever, but like I don't know, like
But you didn't do this just once.
no, I
No.
did not. No.
No, you got away with the first one.
Yeah, we got away with it, and we went back. I got like, I don't know, $700 altogether. Like, there were people in the gas station at the time, like customers, and we robbed them. Like, stole money out of their pockets and stole phones and all kinds of stuff. And so we went back, and I was listening to this song. I can't remember what song it was. It was a rap song, and the guy said something along the lines of, we're gonna rob a place and then rob it again or something, and again
Okay.
and again. And I was looking at my buddy, and I was like, man, we should go rob that gas station again tomorrow. And he was like, you're crazy. And I'm like, yeah, no, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I just convinced him,
And you go back.
Yeah, we
to
go
the
back.
exact same one
Exact
you
same-
just did the day before.
yes.
And with no mask again?
No mask again. Same. It was the first time there was an old lady as a cashier.
Mm-hmm.
This time it was the same old lady and a younger girl.
Mm-hmm.
And like I walked in, and we were walking in, and it's on a busy street too. Like, it's really busy. There's always like 20
It's in
people
Terre
in there.
Haute?
Yeah, it's in Terre Haute.
Okay.
So we were walking in the gas station, and as we're walking in, there's these 3 dudes walking out. One of them says something to one of my buddies, and like offensive, and I'm like, I hear it kinda, but like I was high out of my mind. Like, I was high.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, both times.
Uh-huh.
And I was like proud that I was doing it. And so I guess my buddy didn't like this dude, and they didn't like each other, whatever. So they went outside to the parking lot, and we went out there and started jumping these dudes. And so me and one of my other, I pat my buddy on the shoulder, because he had a pistol, I had a pistol. He had 38 and I had a 9mm, and I was like, man, let's go in here and rob this gas station real quick before the cops come. And he's like, all right, bet. And so we go inside, and I'm like, give me the money. Like, I'm screaming at her. I'm like, open the cash register, give me the money. I'm stealing packs of cigarettes. And she's like, we're not giving you nothing. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you're not going to give us nothing? Because I don't know, like the first time she was scared out of her mind.
This time she's trying to stand up.
Yeah, she's like, no, we're not having it. So
what do you do?
I end up, and for the record, I have made amends to her about this, but I ended up jumping over the counter, and she was like, I think close to 70 at the time too. And I jumped over the counter, and I pistol whipped her in the face like I think 6 times. And she's blind in one eye. Like, she's getting disability now, and I don't know, I just beat her bad with a gun, and my buddy I was with shot the other cashier in the stomach twice.
And so how's it feel saying that now?
It makes me want to cry.
Yeah, I know.
But knowing
I appreciate your courage saying
that. Yeah, knowing that I have made amends for it, and all that, you know. But it's part of my story.
But it's part of your story, but it's also the part of your story where things start to take a different turn.
Yeah, it was part of a change point.
But what I find fascinating here is I feel like from a young age, I'm talking young, 4 years old, at 8 years old, you're passing back joints. I feel like your identity was chosen for you, and you bought into it, because I don't think you have much of a choice.
Yeah.
People want to say we have choices, and some maybe you do, maybe you don't. But when I listen to your story, I can see how you got there. I'm not justifying it.
Yeah.
But you had this image of who you were that was just false.
Yeah.
You know, you were so much more than this, and that's what it leads to. And eventually, your buddy, you guys go to prison. You get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's still in jail.
He's still in prison.
But you, on the other hand, had this second chance.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? About you getting the second chance? Obviously, you've made a good run of it, and obviously he's not. So
yeah, he's. I guess he's still continuing to live that life, and why he's locked up. And I can't say that if I wasn't locked up, I wouldn't, because I guarantee I would. But I ended up completing a drug program
in prison.
In prison.
Now I know we were talking earlier. You said the system helped you.
Yeah. It definitely did. When I first got there, I didn't care at all.
You still had the same attitude.
Still mindset, same mindset.
Still proud.
Yeah, I was still proud. Like, I was in there, like, showing people my paperwork. Like, hey, look, these guys snitched on me and I didn't. And they're like, oh, he's cool. He's a gangster. And so, like, everybody took me under the wing.
You're still buying into that image.
Yeah. And I ended up getting in a fight in one of the because I did 2 drug programs. I failed one.
Okay.
And I ended up getting in a fight in there. And they took me to the hole for 6 months. And so I was in the hole by myself for 6 months. And it was horrible. Like, I think I went insane.
Did anything good happen there?
Yes. Like,
okay.
I realized, like, I think I had that jailhouse religion. But, I mean, at that point in time, I think it was, like, I thought truly, like, I'm going to stay out of trouble. I'm going to turn my whole life around. Like, I thought my whole life over for 6 months straight. Like, there was nothing else I could do. And I was in my head for 6 months. It was
That's
horrible.
Amazing. I think it's awesome because I know different strokes for different folks. And maybe it took you 6 months of isolation to have this self-reflection.
Yeah.
I know in my own story, I was in Bartholomew County Jail facing 30 years, and I kind of did that same thing, but on my own.
Yeah.
But when you started self-reflecting, powerful things start happening. Something you said there I want to kind of elaborate on for our viewers. You said jailhouse religion.
Yeah.
What is jailhouse religion?
Basically, for me at least, and a lot of people I know, you run in the streets, getting high, doing whatever you're doing, committing crimes, you get arrested, and you turn to God while you're in there and you say, get me out of this sticky situation and I'll change my life, I won't do it again. And as soon as he gets you out of it, you go straight back to what you were doing.
In that 6 months that you were isolated, did you find a real higher power at that point, or was it? further down the road?
I think I did, but not to the extent that I should have.
Okay.
I mean, I hadn't really, been to church or talked to any spiritual advisors or anything before that.
Okay.
I think I had the best view of him that I could at the time that I could conceive of.
Okay.
It's changed a lot from
I'm
then.
sure. I mean, you've grown a lot since then.
Yeah, it's changed a whole lot since then. But it was definitely the turning point of, either my whole life's going to be wrongdoings or no matter what. And then, because I think of it as a line. And that's
Sure.
where I was now, is what I think of it as a line. And then there's this side of the line where it's like, well, why? Maybe not. We might not have to do that.
And sometimes it's that little maybe not's enough hope to get you there.
Yeah.
So you do your 6 months. And you still have to come back to the population,
to the
right?
same place I left.
Same place you just left.
Same place I left.
And how did that happen? What happened after that?
So I was like what they call a play baby. Like I always play too much.
Yeah.
You
I heard
know,
that term.
joking around. Punching people in the arms, all this and that, and just being a little kid, basically, and everything I do is not nothing I do is serious, and stuff like that. And so when I was down there, I was like, well, they're gonna think of me as the same way if I come out of this and act like I'm a serious kind of guy now, and I'm here to do my time, and I'm not kidding around. Then maybe they'll look at me in a different way and respect me more or whatever. And so I ended up trying to do that, and it didn't work.
Okay.
Like as soon as I got back, like I just wanted to be a little kid again, and so I ended up just by the grace of God, completing that program, just sliding through. Like I broke so many rules that I just didn't get caught, basically.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, like you said, grace of God, because you're sitting here now.
Yeah.
So something had to be working in your favor. I mean, and maybe that is the higher power,
Yeah.
right? So you complete that program, and you go to.
Well, first I got house arrest.
Okay.
At Oak Street dual diagnosis.
Okay.
For addiction and mental health.
Okay.
And that's where I met Brian Kendrick.
Uh-huh.
And
I know he's been monumental.
Yeah.
In your success.
Yes, he has.
100%.
And
this is the first time you met him.
Yeah, this was the first time I met him. I was just getting. I was just getting out of prison. I was on house arrest, and my roommate upstairs was smoking weed, and in the recovery home or in the rehab I was at, and my mom came, which I hadn't seen in almost 2 years, because I didn't see her before I got locked up. So it's been almost 2 years I hadn't seen her, and she had flowers and candy and a birthday card for me for my birthday. She missed. Well, it was my fault, but
and your mom still uses it.
Yeah, she's still using
Yeah,
it.
she's
Yeah,
I want to put that out there.
She was higher than I've ever seen anybody in my life, almost. And she had some guy with her that I'd never seen before. Tattoos all over his face. It looks like he just got out of prison, and he was high too. And they were like making vulgar. The guy was like telling one of the workers there that she should sleep with me and stuff. And I'm like, man, they're about to get me kicked out of here. Like, this is crazy. And Brian ends up getting them to leave or whatever. And I'm so happy for that. But like, I got a tear running down my face, and I turn around and I see Brian, and he's got his arms embraced wide open, like ready for me to fall into his arms. And I'm like, so I just do it, and we start crying, and he's like, are you ready to, take this serious now? And I was like, yes, I am.
Take me a little deeper into that moment, because that's a powerful moment. Because I know I love you and things like that wasn't said a whole lot in your life. You had this man, this stranger, to turn around after you just witnessed this with your mom, which to me would be very traumatic.
Yeah.
To embrace you just as you were, and he hugs you. What'd you feel?
I felt pure, true love. Like,
that's real, man.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't even like it was him there. It was like it was God, like, speaking through him with a hug.
And did you feel any kind of healing going on?
Yeah, I felt, because before that, I still was only at that place to get out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the only reason I was there. Like, I knew I was still going to get high and stuff. And after that moment, like, during that moment, I was like, I might... And he said, too, he even said, I remember now, he said, you never have to get high again. And for, like, months and months, I would say that all the time. And, like, that's the first time I ever truly believed it.
I got chills all over me right now. Like, that is so powerful. So you at this moment, you're still not even thinking you're going to be serious.
Yeah.
Until this man embraces you, and you thought, "Wow, I might do this. I might do it this time."
Yeah.
That is good stuff, man.
Yeah.
So what happens? So Brian gets you and does what?
Well, he started, because honestly, I didn't like him before that because of the way he had his hair.
That's it. Just the hair.
Yeah, and that was automatically, put him in this category of people I don't like. But after that, I started getting. He showed me how to, be open-minded to things that normally I wouldn't, accept. So, and he was always the cool guy. Like, he'd take us to the gas station and stuff when we weren't really supposed to and stuff, so we could get cigarettes and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like we had a human to human bond, like,
yes,
and instead of like guy in rehab to person that's in charge of me.
Gotcha.
So he started showing me like how Alcoholics Anonymous works and what.
Did he take you to your first meetings and things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he would. We would walk because he has 3 recovery homes in Terre Haute. There was only one at the time, called the Truman House.
Mm-hmm.
And he would walk us, like he would plead with the director of the place we were at to let us walk, 5 blocks down the street to go to the meetings there. And that's when I started meeting people in recovery that were doing recovery right.
And this is the first time you've been exposed to recovery.
First time.
You don't know nothing about recovery.
Yeah.
And what'd you think?
I loved it.
Loved it?
Loved it. People coming up, giving me hugs, tell me they love me, and that I don't even know them.
And you've never experienced this before.
Yeah, never.
So how powerful is something like that to somebody that's never been told, I love you, you don't say I love you, you walk in this recovery room, you don't know anybody, you probably got a little fear going on, and they just welcome you with open arms, I love you, you feel like you belong. Explain that to me.
I don't know if I can. It's uncomprehendable. I don't know. It's the best feeling I ever felt. Like, that alone makes me want to do good for the rest of my life. Yeah. I still remember it to this day. And
then, did you actually attend the Truman House?
Yeah, I end up going back to prison because I cut my house first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had exposure to recovery.
Yeah, they planted the seed.
Okay, they planted the seed, and that's important to talk about because sometimes we do get the seeds planted, and we might go back, we might relapse or whatever. Not like, again, I'm not justifying anything, but in those moments, those seeds are important, which I'm sure we'll find out here later.
Yes.
But, so you cut your bracelet off, you go back to prison. How'd that feel in that moment, doing that?
It was the worst feeling I've ever felt in my life. Like, I knew, they say a belly full of booze and a head full of AA don't mix. Mm-hmm. Well, I never really understood it until this point.
Yeah. Like,
because, before, when I didn't even know recovery existed, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was bad, but I didn't think it was that bad because, it's all I ever knew. But now I knew that there was a better way to live. And
there's no denying it.
And there's no denying it. And so I was just miserable that whole time I was in there. I got hooked on meth in there.
Yeah, that's important too. Because you had not tried meth.
Well, I got hooked on meth the first time.
Okay.
But when I got out, I didn't really do it.
So you got hooked on methamphetamine in prison, not on the streets.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to touch on too, because some people have this illusion that there's not drugs in prison. Let me tell you something. If you had never been to prison, you can get drugs easier in prison than you can on the street.
Yeah, a lot easier.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
So when you go back to prison this time, did you get back into the meth game?
Yeah, I started shooting it this time.
So this time you started shooting, so it progressed.
Yeah, it got worse.
Yeah, it got worse.
It got a lot worse. I remember staying up for like 4 months straight. And doing meth in prison is not fun. Because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, but you did it anyways.
Yeah, but I did it anyways.
But, they say it's insane, insanity, and that's insane. Like, you just admitted it.
Yeah.
But you did it anyways.
Yeah, I did it anyways. I got back on the K2 in there too, but not as bad because I was on the meth now.
Okay.
I mean, I probably got in 10 fights the first, 5 days I was there. And this time I knew a bunch of people. I knew a bunch of people, and they knew I was cool.
Okay.
And solid. They knew I was solid. So we just, me and a couple guys would gang up on some dudes and, take their meth and,
so
do it for ourselves.
Back in that life again.
Yeah. So and this time I'm like, I've been to prison. So I felt that like I had a sense of entitlement to, do bad things.
Okay.
There was a lot of like gang violence in there at this place that I was at this time, and
what's this place?
At the farm.
This is the farm.
Yeah, this was at the farm.
Okay.
First time was at the stop, and it was wild. The first time, it might have mainly been because it was my first time, and I was so young, but this time like I felt like I was a part of.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I ended up, getting in a race. There was a race war, but there was these Aryan Brotherhood dudes that did not like me at all,
okay.
And I ended up getting sliced on my side, and they started jumping me, beat me up, and a bunch of black guys came over and beat these dudes up and like kind of took me under their wing or whatever. And like I've heard Brian's testimony a bunch of times, and he says there's a bunch of life experiences that happened to him that if they wouldn't have happened, say like the same kind of situation as mine. I was just talking about how another race saved his life when his own race turned it back on him.
For sure.
If it wasn't for that, he'd probably be racist, or if he was only an alcoholic and not on drugs, he'd probably, shame the drug addicts.
Right.
So I kind of feel the same about that.
Okay.
And
that's good points.
Yeah.
They are great points.
So I ended up kind of getting like affiliated with Vice Lords, and it was like all black gang, and I'm from an all black town, and so it, it's pretty much like, I don't know. It's not good.
So now you're a part of the Vice Lords.
Yeah.
And you're still you still have these seeds planted in before you came to prison, but now you're becoming a part of the Vice Lords. So you have these two separate lives really going on here. Obviously, something had to happen to get you out of that, or you wouldn't be sitting here today. Take us through the farm. I know you did therapeutic community there.
Yeah.
When did things start changing back for the good again?
I ended up doing 16 months that time.
Okay. Any thoughts of recovering?
Not at first. So I was just, beating people up. I mean, I got in so many fights, it's unreal.
Sounds like this is a trend of yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
why do you think the fighting?
I don't know, like, because I've never really had nothing special, I never had, a bunch of money or a bunch of nice cars or this and that, a bunch of nice clothes, like, growing up. And I wasn't always the smartest, but I've always, been able to fight pretty good. Okay. So, when all else, came to fail, beat somebody up and take their stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I turned to.
All right. So you did 16 months?
Did 16 months, got back into, I went to Appropriate People's Program to get back into a drug program.
Okay. So
I ended up doing like 4 months in that, and then doing 8 months there, plus a little bit of time in the Isle dorm. And I completed the program because I was, I just wanted to get out, honestly. But I'd say the last 4 months, I quit getting high, just cold turkey. Didn't want to do it anymore because I wanted to get out, and I knew if I was getting high, I wouldn't get out.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, I'll just stop for a little bit, get out, and get high again.
Okay.
When I got out, they sent me back to that place that I was at the first time.
Okay.
I was there for 2 months. I was a knucklehead. I got kicked out, and I went to the Truman house.
Okay.
And I got a bed, so I was legally living there. I hadn't failed a drug test, but I got violated because I was ordered at the other place.
Okay.
I've heard of like one other case of somebody doing this and not going back to prison, because usually it doesn't work like that.
Okay.
So they came to the Truman house, arrested me. I was there for like 45 minutes. They came and arrested me. I went to jail for, I think, a month maybe, and Marty Norman, he was my sponsor at the time, and he said him and Brian are the co-founders of the Truman House, and he kept saying he was going to get me out, don't worry, this and that, and I didn't believe him at all. He said he's going to be at my court date to get me out. So my court date comes, and I don't see him there, and I'm talking to the guy on the chain gang beside me. I'm like, man, he's a piece of crap. I hate Marty Norman. And as soon as I said that, I seen him walk in the door, and I was like, hey, that's my guy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Changed it real quick, didn't you?
Yeah, it did. And they ended up letting me out that day.
In his care?
Yeah, in his care. He came back like 4 hours later and got me. I don't know why he didn't just walk over, but they had to let me sulk for a little bit. But yeah, I ended up getting out and going to the Truman House that day, and it changed my life.
So let's talk about the Truman House a little bit. I know you said it's like a brotherhood in there. Yeah. It was powerful.
It was powerful.
So what makes the Truman House powerful? Why do you think it really started to work for you? Cause
all the places I've been before that, it was just people, the workers there, like the managers and whatnot, they were only there for a paycheck, and at the Truman House, the managers there are there because if they're not there, then they're going to be where I was. They're going to be strung out, whatever. There's every time I've walked in that place, there's a godly presence. Like I know God's working through people there, for people there.
And you're living proof of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I've had some of the best experiences of my life in that house, with the people in that house.
And so the Truman House definitely gave you a solid foundation.
Yeah.
Got you really going back on your feet. Did you get back into meetings and things like that?
Yeah, I got back into meetings. I was going to a lot of meetings. I had a sponsor. I was doing step work. I finished my step work.
Was Marty still your sponsor, or did you get a different sponsor?
Yeah, he was my sponsor all the way up until I got to step 12. And we decided it was best for me to get another sponsor, so I got another sponsor.
Okay.
And I finished my 12 step. And then I met a girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was there for like a year, for like a year and a half at the Truman House. And I met this girl, and as soon as I met this girl, it was like, middle finger to the Truman House.
Man, and they say the most given advice, but the least taken.
Yeah.
Is relationships and recovery.
Yeah.
You were doing great. You meet a girl, and gone.
Yeah.
Explain that to me, because I would assume like you've done well, but then here you go again.
Yeah. Well, this was worse than the first time that I had relapsed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was at that point in time.
Was she on drugs?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, I found out. She said that she was like taking Xanax, but when she said she wanted to be with me or whatever, that she would quit doing them or whatever.
Okay.
And she said she wasn't a drug addict or whatever, and I believed her. I ended up moving in with her and thinking, well, I got this. I've been sober 19 months. I can do this on my own. I don't need... And she had previously been with somebody that was at the Truman House, so I didn't want to bring her around the Truman House, but we were codependent, like couldn't go anywhere by ourselves, didn't trust each other, it was toxic. So I ended up just quit going to the Truman House, quit going to AA, and quit hanging out with sober people, and I eventually fell back into, old friends and old places and old mindsets, and I got, strung out on meth again.
Mm-hmm.
Started drinking alcohol a lot, committing crimes, and it got bad.
So how did this stop?
So I remember I was sitting at a park, and it was probably 2 miles away from my grandma's house, which my grandma raised me. She's I hold her high.
Right.
And I remember I was with my cousin, and we were high, and he was talking my head off, talking about partying and all this and that, and I just kept looking in the direction of my grandma's house and feeling like the worst guilt I've ever felt in my life. Like I did not want to think about my family, anybody in recovery. Recovery at all. I don't know. I didn't want to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to kill myself, honestly, and I didn't know what to do. So I reached out to Brian Kendrick because that was my first real heartfelt experience with recovery, was with him. I texted him, asked if he could, because the Truman House has a waiting list now, and I done blew him off so many times that they're done with me at that point. I texted him and said, "Can you get me in anywhere? Because if you can't, I'm gonna die. I don't know. I think I told him I don't think I could do this for another week or whatever." And he was like, "Well, text me tomorrow, and be sober, and don't get high between now and then. And if you do, text me. We'll talk." And I was like, "All right," because I told him I was high. And, you can't really trust what people are saying when they're under the influence. So I texted him again the next day. I didn't really want to by then, because I had a little bit of money, and I was like, well, maybe I can go on another little run real quick. But I ended up texting him anyway. Thank God I did, because he sent one of the guys from the Truman House to pick me up and move him out to his house, and I live with him now. He's my mentor. He's a huge inspiration to me.
That's amazing.
I'm basically his adopted son.
So, how long ago was that?
5 months ago.
And you've been clean ever since?
Yeah.
What was it about this time, moving in with Brian, coming out here to Columbus, that seems to stick?
I've seen recovery done right. I've seen, I've seen it done right, and I know how to do it right. I didn't get completely honest with my step work the first time I did it. I left some things out. I still felt like, because I had to change what I thought was cool, because drugs and partying is not cool to me anymore.
Right.
Morals and values are cool to me now, and showing up for work and stuff like that. But when I was at the Truman House, I was still, I had reservations. I thought, well, maybe one day. You
said you give a lot of gratitude, though, for the Truman House.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, they helped me. They helped me change. They put the steps. They helped me in order to take the steps to get where I need to be. They showed me how to do recovery right. They put a lot of important mentors in my life. And they're the biggest bunch of loving, caring, ex-junkie criminals I've ever met in my life.
So here you are now, you're 5 months clean. In your own words, how does Patrick stay sober on a day-to-day basis?
First, I stay in conscious contact with my higher power. I try to stay constantly consciously aware of my own thoughts and actions. I go to AA meetings. I go to church. I just became a member I turned in the paperwork to become a member of my church. And I try to do the next right thing every chance possible.
And it shows.
Yeah.
I think quality, you can see it in you. You've recently also done something else that I thought was very impressive. And you've done it for a month now.
Yeah.
And you're only 5 months clean. But to do this A month ago, and what was that?
Quit smoking cigarettes.
Quit smoking cigarettes. Usually, do you know there's a stat out there that says when you quit smoking cigarettes, you more than double your chances of long-term recovery?
Yeah?
Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Something else I see that you do, and I want to know if it's important to you, is you've been back in the gym.
Yeah.
You have dreams, you have aspirations and goals. Does the gym play a part of your daily routine, and what is your dreams?
Yeah, gym plays a huge part in my daily routine. I had to take a little bit of time off from the gym to get my GD and whatnot because it was probation ordered, but I ended up getting it in a really short amount of time, and so I started going back to the gym. And when I'm at the gym, nothing else matters. If I'm having a horrible day, the gym will fix it 100%. Plus, I love, looking in the mirror and being happy with the way I look. And I could sit here and explain to you, how I can feel the blood pumping through my veins, and when I don't think I can do another curl, and I'm, got halfway up, but you'll never know unless you go out and do it.
That's true.
Yeah, so
very true.
I love going to the gym. I love being, strong and fit, agile. And as for my dreams, I want to be a professional cage fighter. I've been fighting my whole life in the streets illegally, getting arrested, hurting people. Might as well do it professionally as a sport and a career and get paid for it.
Turn that negative into a positive.
Yeah.
Something that I was thinking as you were speaking, I was thinking about your self-image as a kid and that belief you had of who you were. And you're talking about the gym and how you start thinking about yourself then. And man, the image of you today is not that 100-pound
yeah.
K2 strung out meth addict. You look very healthy. You speak well. You do well. I think I'm very proud of you. This is a really cool interview. Great story. I appreciate you showing up. What impact do you hope that your story has on others?
I hope it can give others hope. That, if you don't believe that you can do something, that 100% you can. People have unlimited potential. And no matter what anybody tells you, no matter what odds are against you, no matter what hand you're dealt in life, you can overcome and overpower it.
And guys, odds, 20 years old, and he's sitting here, you just heard that story, and he's sitting here clean today with dreams and aspirations and a real shot to make it. I mean, to be born into addiction the way that you were at 4 years old, passing that joint at 8 years old, the robberies, the vice lords, the prison, you name it, you have every odd against you.
Yeah.
You really did. So, man, I got to shake your hand. I appreciate you. And, guys, if you want to be a part of this, if you want to get your story out here too, all you got to do is send me a message. We will definitely get you scheduled in here to get your voice out there. And remember, shame can only thrive in secrecy. The moment you speak aloud upon it, it will lose its power.